Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of our Ocean View podcast, where we're deep diving into the topic of college finances with Rebecca Stanley.
Welcome to the Ocean View podcast, where we dive below the surface into tensions each of us face, navigating life, faith, and relationships.
So thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited, sort of.
Are you excited?
I'm a little excited. I'm a little nervous. So Rebecca has been helping families navigate all things college loans and tuitions and scholarships and grants and funding. And
some of the things I do, yes.
Yeah.
That is something that has been a passion of mine. It started with my own kids. Their student loans, they were getting student loans probably about 10 years ago, because one is 10 years, one's 13 years ago.
Okay.
And the amount of loans they were having to get was terrifying. And I knew we couldn't pay it back. We didn't have great financial plans set out. And so had to come up with some plans to make sure that they were earning forgiveness. But I began working with our state's circuit, the 15th Judicial Circuit, in advising our students on their student loans. And it's grown from there. And now I do all 16 judicial circuits in the state of South Carolina, and I'm getting ready to do the AG's office. And just hold their hands and walk through this process, because it is complex and overwhelming, and it's changed. I used to always do the end process of student loans, but lately I've had a lot of parents asking me about, what do we do now? What are we facing? And so I've had to educate myself on some steps that may be useful for parents to take with their children starting out in college, and that's how this started.
So what does that mean you were at the other end? What does that mean you were?
When they were finished and their loans come due, I counsel the student.
Okay.
And who is an employee of the state.
Oh, okay.
And so I begin that with them and helping them, making sure they're in an affordable repayment plan. And in our situation, make sure they're earning public service loan forgiveness.
Okay.
But what has been happening is now a lot of our employees have become parents. And they're facing students going to college, and they're trying to come up with plans of how they're going to pay for it, or what's the cost really going to be.
Yeah.
So I've had to shift a little bit.
Okay.
And then that's how we got together.
Yes.
And I just actually had a webinar that I had to do for parents for that reason. So,
which we're actually going to link at the bottom of this.
Okay.
So if you'd like to see that webinar, it's there, which is
good.
great.
I
I actually watched it, and it was terrifying and very helpful all at the same time.
Yeah.
So currently I have an upcoming senior and an upcoming freshman in high school. So yeah, this was very timely. And so we're going to not be scared as we talk about this. So what do you think that, because you're now dealing with it, why do you feel like it feels so overwhelming for families?
Well, I think number one right now, the dollar is not worth as much as it was before. Right. So everybody's stretched thin.
Yeah.
And you have a bad combination. You have universities that are charging extremely high fees, and you've got inflation. So we don't have a lot of extra funds, and finances may be stretched already. So I believe we're all getting hit in the face with that a little bit. Yeah. Plus, regretfully, there's a lot of changes that are coming in for students borrowing, for parents borrowing, and all of that takes place as of July 1st.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So there's big changes that are coming in, and it's going to change things a little bit on affordability.
Okay. So what do you think is in working with parents now, what do you think is the biggest misconception about college finances that parents have?
That we'll figure it out when we get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it'll all work out.
Oh gosh.
Those kind of phrases, I hear that all the time. Or the Lord will provide. I do believe that. But I also believe that we got to put some feet to those prayers.
Yeah.
And, we need to be wise in our money-making decisions. And it's sort of that oxygen mask. I know I shared that in the webinar, but I remember the day that it finally clicked with me why you put it on first before you put it on your child's face, is to make sure that you can breathe, to get that mask and put on their face. It's the same thing with your finances, especially with college. Sometimes you want to say, well, I don't want to crush their dreams. We're going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. Well, you could put yourself in a bad financial place, and then you can't take care of them, or you're giving them a false sense of how finances really work.
Yeah. Yeah. So what stage should families actually start planning financially for college?
Middle school's great. Well, actually, lower is awesome if you have the ability to save funds. You know, and starting out in some college saving plans. I know there's a new one now, the Trump IRA or whatever that starts you out with $1,000, but I think you have to be of a certain age, under 8 years old or something like that. But you know, the SEP 529, or I think it's the 529 IRA or something like that you can, college savings plan. I would start as young as you can. We didn't. We had some, but times got tough and we couldn't put money into it. So that seems like what happens. Yeah. So starting out as young as you can, but it's never too late to start conversation with your child and really talking to your child about it. I think I see a lot of this and I hear a lot of it is, I don't want to scare our kids, or I feel like we're putting our financial burden on them. I understand what you mean by that, and I think you need to be wise of your conversation, but there's nothing worse than finding out after they've already gotten accepted to a university that they can't afford to go then. Yeah. So start the conversation. Yeah. Start the conversation early.
That's great. So let's go to kind of some basics. Explain to those of us who aren't smart in this area, what, like, just kind of talk through some differences. Like, you hear scholarships, grants, loans, financial aid, like all of those things. Talk us through kind of some differences between them and how accessible they are and what that looks like.
Well, just Googling scholarships, I was able to Google a lot for like our area for public safety employees. So, I mean, I would put research into it. I would start looking for something that, you know, maybe your family's involved in ministry. See if there are scholarships for children of pastors, children of youth pastors, music pastors. A lot of times there's special scholarships for that. And at first you may think it's $500, it's $1,000. Let me tell you, it adds up when you're getting down to that net cost of what it's truly going to cost you out of pocket, that $500, that $1,000. And that's something that your child, they're excellent on research and internet. That's a great thing for them to be doing. Put them involved in it. But I would start first with finding out how much it's going to cost. Start with your number one pick, where your child wants to go. Then come up with your 2, 3, 4, 5. Find out what it's really going to cost you out of pocket. Then I would research, what do we need? How much in scholarships are we going to need? How much in federal student loans are we going to need? How much is the parent going to have to come up with?
Okay. Are there still grants? Is that something that is available to people?
Yes.
Okay.
They do offer grants, and grants do not have to be paid back. Scholarships do not have to be paid back. Loans do. There's certain grants and scholarships that sometimes do have to be paid back if you don't follow the rules of, because some of them might be, if you stay in this major, or if you follow this career, then that's a grant. Right. But I've got a lot of people that have had to pay them back. You know, their minds change. And so just be aware of what it is that you're getting involved in to make sure. Are we going to be held liable?
Right. So explain, is it FAFSA? I can't even say the word. FAFSA?
Yes, FAFSA. Yes. It's Federal Student Aid. Okay. So when the government has set up a program where you can borrow part of the money to go to school. And it's not as much money as a lot of parents think. So that's why I say go back to how much is it really going to cost. And a student that lives with their parents can borrow up to around $35,000 for their undergraduate. Okay. That's for
all 4 years.
All 4 years. Yeah. Not $35,000 a year.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
No, and you know, it's one of those things that parents seem to think, well, I was able to borrow what I needed to go to school. Right. You were, but they charged a lot less. A lot less. So you're going to find that there's going to have to be money coming in from somewhere. Okay. So it's going to be good to nail that down.
So they're charging a lot less due to our interest rates, correct?
No,
like back in the day,
charged a lot less back in the day.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so when the universities charged less, the student was able to borrow enough. Yeah, and so a lot of times the parents didn't have to get extra loans. Yeah, or out of pocket a lot. But now, because the cost of the university is so high, it's usually not enough by borrowing federal student loans.
Gotcha. So, does everybody then, like, what income level would you be eligible for financial aid?
Okay, so everybody's eligible for federal student loans.
Okay.
If you're a citizen of the United States.
Okay.
I I think they even have programs for felons, different things like that,
Wow.
that you are eligible for federal student loans. And I wanted to see if there was any clarification on this in my notes. But even a lot of times, like if they're here on asylum, political asylum,
Mhm.
they're eligible for federal student loans.
Wow.
Have to be here for a certain reason because it's federal money.
Yeah.
And the benefit of using that money is it's in the student's name. And when they graduate, when those loans come due, you can get a payment based on their income. If you borrowed private, because you say, hey, I can get a better rate for them with a private loan, and it's 7% with the federal loan. Private loan is not going to have an affordable repayment schedule. And when you're just getting out of school and you're starting out in a job, all of a sudden having a payment for $1,300 is huge. So
Wow,
private
yeah.
loans, I really encourage people to stay away from. So that's the benefit of using the federal loans. I always say borrow as much as you can. Let the student borrow as much as he can or she can with the federal student loans.
So what I'm understanding you to say, just so I make sure I'm wrapping my brain around it. So if a student borrows federal loans, they can repay it back, and that repayment schedule is based on how much they're making as an adult.
You have different ways you can do it. There's a standard repayment.
Okay.
And the standard repayment, they may be making great money. They're going to want to pay it off as soon as they can. They may have some kind of plan. It's choosing the most affordable plan and option for the student.
Okay.
But it gives you that option of affordability, because a lot of times they think when they're coming out of university, I remember thinking that, oh man, we'll be able to buy a vacation house, all this kind of stuff. But real world hits you, how much everything costs, and then you can't afford that payment. So when they have it in their name, it doesn't hurt them. And a lot of parents will say this too. I do find this a lot. The parent says, well, I took out private loans because I didn't want my child to get any debt in their name. Well, go ahead and let them get that federal student loan in their name, because if you want to pay it off, you can. But at least everybody has an option for it to be on an income-driven repayment plan. What if times get tight for the parent?
Right.
And I've seen that happen a lot. So the best thing to do is maximize what the student can borrow from federal student loans.
Okay. You just answered a bunch of my questions, actually. So how do we as parents, and maybe I guess this is an individual question, but how can we as parents help them make financially wise decisions? Like, it's like that balance of wanting them to have their dreams, but then also.
Well, I think number one is telling the truth.
Yeah.
And it's the stuff that we don't like to burden our children with in finances, is making sure that that conversation's already started. And if it hasn't, it's not too late to start the conversation. But sitting down and making this a team thing, because I do wish I would have known. These are some things I wish I would have known when my kids were going to school. Number one, research it, find out how much it's going to cost. And I'll go into those steps that you can really find out a true out-of-pocket cost. Once you get that out-of-pocket cost, sit down as a family and say, okay, this is the deal. This is how much we think we can afford to help you. This is how much we know you can borrow with federal student loans. So we all have to keep it realistic. When these acceptance letters come in and we hear from the financial aid office, this is going to determine where we can go.
Yeah.
And so to make them make wise decisions is the parent has to make wise decisions. So if the parent gets in over their head, you're not teaching them anything.
Right. Right. And I also think that's such a good lesson, even in marriage, is to start having these conversations with your teenagers, and because they're not necessarily fun conversations, but they're necessary conversations.
And you're all experiencing it together.
Right.
It's not you letting your child down personally. It's talking about this as a unit and saying, okay, we're all cheering for this together. And then coming up going, okay, if we're 3,000 short, what if I get this summer job? I mean, it becomes this team event, and you guys can all cheer each other on versus feeling like you are crushing them at the end.
Yeah. No, that's great. So talk us through then. How do we find out that out-of-pocket cost? Like, how do you find that out?
So that was something that was really interesting to me when I started researching it, because at first I was seeing when you go to a university site, it'll have right on like tuition cost link, very easy link. And it says, this is how much it's going to cost to come to us. And it's got tuition, fees, books, estimated food, housing. Okay. And what I found out though, is there's a hidden link, and it's called Net Price Calculator. And any federal school or any school that receives, it's Title IV school, I believe is what it's called, Title IV funds, is required to have a net price calculator. And that's important. You need that for the second step, but there's only 2 steps I think that are really easy to make and create a plan for you and your child together. And the first step is, if you haven't already applied for FAFSA, then once you do, it's going to tell you, okay, based on the information that you gave us, how much the parents make, if the student is a dependent of the parents, then this is how much we're going to allow you to have for your first year. So it'll usually say $5,000 to $7,500. And it also gives you what's called a SAI number. The university uses that number to calculate your need for financial assistance from their financial aid office.
Mm-hmm.
So you need those 2 things first. And if you're not at the FAFSA stage yet, if you're not ready to register for FAFSA, because you usually do that when you know what schools you're going to apply to, things like that. That's usually the last stages. Then you can actually, there's a FAFSA loan simulator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah.
Where you can actually go in to a link, put your information in, and see what does it look like that we will be able to borrow. So then you have that number. You've got your how much you can borrow in federal student aid. You've got your SAI number. Then you're going to go pick out your schools. And let's use state university. So
Mhm.
let's do coastal.
Yeah.
All right. And make sure that you Google net price calculator, because they do sort of hide that link.
So
And
interesting.
it is. I don't really understand the reasoning for that, but I don't know if the parents would be bombarding them with questions or what. But once you do that, some of the sites will require that SAI number. Some of them don't, but you're going to want to, there's a few things else that might be helpful too at that time. They're going to ask their ACT or SAT scores.
Mhm.
They're going to ask what scholarships, state scholarships, did they qualify for, especially if you're in state. Have that information ready, even if you're guessing, like, okay, this is because I put that down here. I thought this was really interesting too. It's also giving your young student a goal.
Yes.
And it's saying, hey, we're going to need these scholarships. So you're really going to have to keep your grades up, because it's going to be very important. Because like the Palmetto Fellows Scholarship gives up to $6,700 for the first year, $7,500 for sophomore to senior years. That's a big chunk
That's a
of change.
Big chunk.
To help.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting $7,500 federal
Yeah.
money. Then you get the $6,500. The Life Scholarship gives up to $5,000 per year, $300. Hope, lottery tuition, South Carolina Win scholarships. I would research that. So you got to take that information, then go to the university site, and you're going to put that in, and it's going to give you how much is it really going to be out of pocket. You watched the webinar. What shocked you when you got to that number?
Just the amount of all of it, really.
Did it shock you how much was still left to pay after putting in
yes.
scholarship?
Yeah.
That shocked me.
Yeah.
That shocked me, because I believe there's a generation that doesn't really understand that, and mine included, that usually once you do those scholarships and you do the federal funds, you're basically covering it and what the school's going to offer, because that net price calculator is using those numbers to tell you what the school's going to offer you
Mhm.
in funding. So it's really giving you, this is how much out of pocket. It shocked me that we
Yeah.
were looking at $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
$25,000 a year
After everything
after
else.
the discounts
Yes.
and scholarships.
Yeah.
I mean,
For state school.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're talking about $25,000. That's not what the student can borrow now. The students are already maxed out what they could borrow.
Mhm.
So that means out of pocket. True out of pocket means it's coming out of your savings, that savings plan that you had for your child for tuition, or personal loans that the parent has to get. There's Parent Plus loans. There's private loans. So that is a true out of pocket number. And I think that is the most important thing for a family to get.
Yeah.
Because I know across the board, I'm hearing that number is shocking them.
Yeah.
They had no clue that is what they really had to come out of pocket with.
Yeah. That's a lot. And that's per year.
Yeah, per year.
The other thing that shocked me was the price point of state schools for out of state. Like
Yeah.
if you were coming, that was
Yeah, that is huge, isn't it?
Yeah. The tuition, like
Yeah.
in-state tuition is
Yeah.
great. But then if you're wanting to say, if you wanted to come into coastal out of state, like that was wild. So, okay. So what is our next steps then?
So the plan B would be, all right, we know what we have to come out of pocket with.
Yeah.
Looking at your schools. This is how much we think we can do out of savings or whatever as parents. So you got 2 options. You can either put it in a we're all looking at that bottom number, that 20. Let's just use 20,000 to make it easy. Okay. So 20,000. You could get a Parent Plus loan. Let me tell you a little bit about Parent Plus loans. Okay. So Parent Plus loans as of July 1st, 2026 are changing. They will no longer be, one of the advantages was, as a parent, if you got that loan to cover the rest of the tuition, is your payment could be based on income. So as a parent, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Because it gave you more affordability in paying it back. It also used to be eligible for public service loan forgiveness, which was wonderful if you work in public service loan forgiveness. That's all changed as of July 1st. And they also didn't have a cap on them. You could borrow whatever you needed to get your child's remaining amount paid for. Because we were looking at $25,000 that first year.
Yeah.
That's $100,000 for 4 years. $100,000. So the parent was able to borrow that much money on a Parent Plus loan. Now it's capped. The Parent Plus loan is capped at $65,000 per student. So, and if it's going to be repaid at $65,000, so let's say that first child, $65,000, the new repayment plan is 9.07% interest. When you have $65,000, it puts you on a term of 20 years. So the parent's monthly payment is $577.
Wow. Okay.
You know how much you'll end up paying back from $65,000 in that 20 years? $138,500.
That's wild.
So that's $20,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
You can only have 65 for the life of the student, so we need to probably break that up into 15,000. So we were talking about what 25,000 we needed. So then you got 10 more thousand you're going to need. So that's where you start going, okay, unless our true out of pocket equals this, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to afford this school. And that's everybody putting their heads together and saying, so unless you want to start doing summer jobs that you're going to contribute this towards, you know, everybody's saying, okay, then we're aiming for 10,000 out of pocket.
Yeah.
Everybody understanding that number. And I would warn a parent on getting a Parent Plus loan right now because 9.07% interest is high. There are some options for private loans, but you have to be careful. Sometimes those private loans are a variable. It looks like it's a fixed rate, but it can be variable. So when the rates go up, that rate goes up.
Yeah.
And a lot of times their terms are shorter. You're going to have to make sure that you as a parent can afford it. It's that oxygen mask thing. Because then is student 2 coming through? The parents are stretched because student 1's loans start coming due. You know, making sure that y'all can survive financially. Parents nearing retirement age. You know,
Yeah,
I know I feel like Debbie Downer with this. And my husband watched the webinar when I was getting it ready for the state, and he said that was totally depressing. So I had to switch it up because there is good news. I mean, part of the good news is don't wait till last minute. Have these conversations and be honest. You said how to make a smart child is to be smart parents. That's part of the problem. We've overextended ourselves too. You know, so what better way than to really, this generation may be one of the smartest ones again, because it goes in cycles, you know. Sometimes after like the Great Depression, the next generation was very wasteful and it, you know, it goes in cycles like that. This may be a very wise generation that really understands what they're facing. So as parents, you're gonna have to be wise yourself. Can you afford the loans? And if not, be honest with your child, because then that may make them shift what kind of school becomes their number one. And not so crushing when they find out that this is the school that they're going to. So I think that is some good news. Other good news is there are opportunities for scholarships. Do not look down on technical college experience. And you can get 2 years of credits under your belt. Then they could maybe look at moving towards their dream university. I mean, as long as those credits transfer, you're looking at a lot less money that everybody has to borrow. You know, I think, and also certificate earning from technical colleges. That's 6-figure incomes. We are missing the trades hugely. I mean, I have a friend that has a transmission shop. Trying to find a transmission builder that can be a 6-figure income is almost impossible. He's flying them in from out of state. So those are great incomes that they can get with no student loan debt a lot of time. So as parents, it's shifting our thinking too, I believe.
I agree. So if a parent has a high school freshman listening to this, what is the first thing they should do?
If the freshman is listening to it, or it's
The parent, if the parent who has a freshman is listening to it.
Start looking at their own finances. What can we really afford, and being honest about that. I find a lot of times, and you need to come together as a mom and dad. I see that a lot when I counsel them at this stage is dad likes to say, I had no clue we were having to borrow that. And he sort of blames mom because mom's the one that's been filling out the FAFSA forms.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. There's no way that you thought it was just happening. So it's being honest as parents. So if you're sitting there with the freshman, it's going to your spouse and saying, maybe go to the link of the webinar and saying, I think we need to watch it because let's come up with a plan together. And it's a great way to open the conversation. And then looking at your finances together, what can you really afford?
Yeah. So if a parent then has a senior and is feeling behind listening to this and feeling a little overwhelmed, what should they be prioritizing immediately?
I think it goes back to the same thing is talking to your senior, make sure your senior's involved in the conversation, have the senior sit with you. I mean, I know your child's in here today, and I think that's probably going to educate him a lot of what he hears. He's going to understand a lot more. I didn't understand it had this kind of complexity to it because they need to understand. That gives them real world experience. You know how many kids I have come into my office with the student loan debt, and they don't even really know how much debt they have. The parents definitely don't know how much debt they have. What do you think the average student loan debt is for an undergraduate degree?
Gosh, I have no idea.
Usually, it's around $75,000 to $100,000.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we said they could only borrow 35, right? So you're going, well, how can that be? The interest starts rising like crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
And and sometimes they had need. If you have need basis, if the parents can't get a Parent Plus loan, they could get up to $55,000. So it's usually 75 to 100 for an undergraduate degree. For a professional degree, which is the way the Department of Education labels them and has always labeled them, let's say for an attorney, average student loan debt. What do you think?
Well, gosh, it'd have to be what, 200?
It's average around 300,000.
Jeez.
300 to 500,000. I mean, it's
That's
really
insane.
sad because
You can't dig out. How do you dig out from under that?
because I'm in public service, that's the way.
Okay.
Because when you have debt like that, if you can get a job in public service, in 2007, they started the program that said, we need more people in ministry, 501c3 organizations, nonprofits, and public service. So if you agree to go into public service and make your payment for 10 years based on your income, we'll forgive the remaining student loan balance tax-free.
Wow.
So that's one way to get out from under that debt. But regretfully, a lot of them don't go into public service. But the parents and the students were unaware of this. And this is the generation that's coming forth with that kind of debt now. So the best thing that you can do is take your blinders off, number one. Because as a parent, we almost didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
We weren't ready financially. We don't want to hurt our child. And you don't want to have that tough conversation and feeling like you're letting them down. But I think it starts first with that senior sitting with you, and probably you and your spouse, or if you're a single parent, take the blinders off. You have to face it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's going to bite you in the hiney.
So you've kind of mentioned these, but what would you say if you were to kind of boil it all down? What are your top 3 resources or tools that every single family should use? Like as we're starting to close up.
studentaid.gov is your FAFSA,
Okay.
the site where you do the FAFSA. I think that's a very important site. And you need to go on that site and do the loan simulation, see how much you can really borrow. Sources would be, there's great Christian organizations that, in research that. Find some great sources that you can draw from, especially if you know what field your child's going into. It's really important because you can find specialized scholarships.
Yeah.
So the second source is always social media, finding a good source that you draw from. I learn a lot from social media, and I learn a lot from podcast webinars. I have to educate myself. The third thing would be going to the university sites and seeing what it really costs. But the biggest thing is, it's just like we face our own finances. You've got to take the blinders off and have soul searching
Yeah.
on what can you really afford.
Yeah. So why don't we leave with give us one encouraging thing that you would say to families that are like would sit in your office feeling very overwhelmed with what they're looking at. Like what's one encouraging thing
Well,
that we
number
can leave
one, if they came to me or was seeking advice, you're already ahead of the game.
with?
You're already ahead of the game, because so many people do it after the fact.
Yeah.
So, I mean, be encouraged that there's information like this, that our church is trying to make sure that this information is available for the family. Seek sources that you can get information from, but it is encouraging. They have great opportunities in great universities. I believe that some of this is going to shift because the borrowing has been capped a little bit, that we may see universities offering better deals.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could happen. I think we're going to see some of that shift. I think we're going to see the trade schools
Mm-hmm.
come back and thrive a little bit on
Yeah.
that too. So good news is there are opportunities out there, and you are ahead of the game if you're listening to this.
Mhm.
You're already way ahead of
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking time to
Yeah.
talk us through all that. And then the webinar is a great resource, which we are going to link below. So, but thank you for joining us.
Well, I appreciate it, and I thank you for having me. And I don't want to be a downer because
No.
it is exciting. This is an exciting time.
Yeah.
But there's nothing more exciting than you guys looking at it together as a
Yes.
team.
Yeah. No, it does give an opportunity
Yeah.
to, it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle to solve.
And you're all facing it together.
Yeah.
The student's not facing it alone. You guys are all in it
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
I think that's exciting.
And a big piece of that puzzle is the Lord.
That's
and
right.
there are, I mean, in my own life, I've seen him come through in massive ways when things don't look like they're going to fit and all of a sudden they do. And you're like, Lord, how did you do that? So,
Yeah. And I think that is important. I mean, and I should have mentioned that, but that is very, very important, is going to the Lord with help us create a plan.
Yeah.
You know, and truly seeking God with that, because your child is going to gain from that too.
Yeah.
Seeing you guys draw from that as well. Let him and her see answers happen.
Mm-hmm.
Let them see the plan start being unfolded.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing better than you guys going in it together.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Ocean View's Deep Dive podcast, as we looked at just some of the tensions that parents face dealing with, college finances and what that looks like today. So definitely check out in the link below that webinar that Rebecca has put together. It is amazing and a great resource. So we will see you next time on our Ocean View podcast.